Freaking Nintendo. I just wanted to have a happy Mother's Day with my mom, and they announced a Mario Maker Direct on the day I was supposed to come back. So now I'm flying home a day early so I can cover this with you guys, from my actual home office, as opposed to trying to work out a situation at my parents. Actually, I'd be on the plane if I were to stick with it. So anyways, I'm coming up early so I can cover Mario Maker Direct, or the Mario Maker Direct, because this is huge. This is big. Something we've all been waiting for a while, because we've heard almost nothing about this game, except through weird sources like Japanese flyers, which somehow gave out more details than anything else in the past couple of months. So yeah, quick gut check. How excited are you guys, being John and Derek, for this upcoming Direct tomorrow?
Well, first of all, Mario Maker's more important than your mom. Jeez, Andre.
I know, it's horrible. I know, she was even in my Mother Day video, right? It's horrible.
Anyway, as far as how hyped I am, I'm excited to see more details. I think there's a lot of things that we've been talking about and trying to figure out about what they might do with Mario Maker 2 that will likely get revealed with this. So I'd put myself at around a 7 or 8 to see what they're going to show.
Yeah, I think I'm around the same. The debut was great. We got a lot of new stuff in there. Of course, those Japanese flyers, that Japanese ad, that Instagram stuff. There's been a few bits of information since then. And to be honest, I'm not bursting for more info. I could have held on until E3, but I'm not going to argue with more info, so I'm all game for it. And there's a lot of stuff that we all want to see, so yeah, I'm around a 7 or 8 as well.
Oh man, I'm at a 9. I'm ready for this. Like, I had a feeling there'd be more before E3. I didn't think they were going to hold off until then for Mario Maker. Especially with these recent flyers and whatnot coming out, and that we have an actual release date as well. So I'm glad it's finally here. I'm glad we're finally getting something, especially in the form of a Direct. It feels like the proper way to blow out this game. And even though we've seen seemingly quite a bit of it, there's also a lot we don't know. So I thought it'd be fun for us to get together, of course, and discuss our predictions as well as our expectations. And perhaps we should start off with that, because in the original trailer, they didn't so much outline these features as just give us a very brief glimpse of them. So we don't fully know what how all they work. We theorized how they work, and we have a pretty good idea in some cases, I think. But we don't know for sure. So I thought it'd be good to go over real quick what we kind of expect on the base level for them to flesh out beyond what we've already seen before we get into our more elaborate predictions as to what else they could be showing off. So I'll start things off here, and I think, how long did they say the Direct is, by the way? 15 minutes?
Yep, 15 minutes.
So I think a big part of that, of course, is going to be going over like the user interface. We're going to get a better idea of how all this will work. In some of the Japanese flyers, you've already seen that you can like pin some of the objects now to your recent use bar, it looks like. So they're going to explain all of this, because we've already, figured out some of the details on how that works, like how the bar now is based on the most recently used objects. They're going to explain more how the wheels work, whether they're customizable, for instance, which I hope they are. And yeah, so I think we're going to get like a lot more idea, or a lot better idea of how this interface actually works this time, and including possibly other changes we don't know about yet.
That's a good speculation there, because we know that the game supports the touchscreen because there's a stylus being sold in Japan and in Europe, but they haven't really shown the actual UI in action yet, apart from what we've spectated in our analysis. We can't just assume that everyone knows what we've shown off in our analysis, so I guess they have to go through like detail by detail what everything is, how it works, and how it's been catered to the Switch.
Not even Derek has time to watch our 90-minute analysis. Derek.
It's almost like I have other work to do and I can't dedicate 90 minutes to doing that. I already edited the audio. I got the idea.
You got 4 hours of your Castlevania streams every week.
That's important stuff. Yeah, you're right. They need to go over the basics. They need to set everything up and what's going to be shown. What are they going? How it all works. Especially because Mario Maker was a phenomenon on the Wii U, but it was on the Wii U. So not everybody knows about this sort of thing, and now they have to sort of reintroduce it with Mario Maker 2 and get get more people interested and invested in what the possibilities are. And to just take the time to break each of these down makes a lot of sense to me, and is likely going to be a bit of a major focus. Like, they're going to be showing the basics, but also showing, okay, here's this, but also look at this really cool thing you can do with these basics. That type of thing. In the same vein, it also makes sense to me that we're getting a Direct before E3, because Nintendo the last couple of years have themed their E3s around a single game. And I've always been wondering what that single game's going to be, and I had a feeling it was going to be Mario Maker. And with this Direct, now they can build everything up as like they don't have to reveal any other games or any other surprises. It's going to be Mario Maker 2. Everybody's going to be able to have a chance to play it and fool around with the tools and whatnot at E3. I have no doubt about that.
I think actually they might go more in on Animal Crossing, or maybe they'll do both. Have like they've done multiple things before. I don't know. I feel like it's too close to E3 that I think they might, focus more on another game that's coming up, down the pike. But who knows? Maybe you're right. Regardless, yeah, they got to break down the basics as we touched on. Part of that is going to be the controls as well. Even though it looks like there's obviously touchscreen support as well as seemingly button controls. They'll explain better how that works. As you mentioned, Derek, they're going to tie in some new features as part of that. And one of the big questions so far is how much interplay is there between the elements, the various elements? Because right now, pretty much everything we've seen that's new to the game is native or part of the game style it was showcased in. So in 3D World, we've only pretty much seen enemies that were in 3D World, or if not entirely, and we haven't seen those enemies outside of that style. Now, I thought before that there may have been a hint otherwise, but I think I was wrong on that. That wasn't part of an official analysis. It was just something John and I had discussed earlier. So I think this is where we're going to find out the full extent of it. And as John and I discussed, hopefully it's everything. I want pretty much everything that, cross-compatible between every theme. Because it would be very disappointing if somehow the 3D World style is kind of like its own closed box, as opposed to being a much more open style like the others, have been in the previous Mario Maker.
Yeah, and it goes against the point of Mario Maker to close things off, because it's a game about changing things and experimenting with different parts. So if you switch between Mario World and 3D World, and all of a sudden the levels just aren't playable anymore, I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. In the original Mario Maker, for instance, Yoshi wasn't in Mario 1, but instead they had the shoe, which I guess is still like a rideable alternative. But with 3D World, all those enemies don't really have alternatives in other styles, so I'd hope that they're all in there too. So yeah, let's fingers crossed that everything is cross-compatible.
Yeah, I have a feeling they'll probably break down a lot of what 3D World brings to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. A huge chunk of the new stuff we've seen was from 3D World. There's also, some other things from other themes or other games as well, like the Angry Sun, for instance, from Mario 3. But yeah, 3D World is where the bulk of the new objects we've seen so far came from, which makes sense. It's a completely new theme, or style, I should say. So yeah, I'm really excited to see them blow that out. Like, clear pipes better be available in every theme, or every style. I think they have to be. Because, I don't even know how it would work if it is a closed box type thing. Because if you go from the 3D World style to, like, Mario World style, if elements didn't exist in the other, do they just disappear, or did they turn into, like, the closest version that there is? Like, would clear pipes just become normal warp pipes then? Which wouldn't really make sense. So, some other features that they need to better explain are, like, water levels, how exactly that works, whether you can dictate whether like there are levels based on where in the stage you are, or whether it changes on a timer, much like it did in Mario World. They're going to showcase how you can change a substance, because we've already seen hints of this where you can use different substances in different level styles. So it seems like you can probably switch between water, lava, and poison. Maybe there will be others too. I don't know what else there could be. So yeah, they'll showcase that, and
I think they're going to start off this Direct by showing off co-op. I think that's going to be their big in. It's like, boom, you can work together to create levels. You can play these levels together. They have Mario and Luigi right there in the front. They're going to be showing that off right off the bat.
Okay, let's get to predictions. That sounds like a good prediction to me. So you're predicting they're going to open up with co-op. And when you say co-op, do you mean playing through the same level together or building a level together?
Both. I think they'll probably show like a hand doing, putting a level together, and then maybe another hand will come together, and they play it, and they have both Mario and Luigi going through, or they'll have both Mario and Luigi going through, and then they go back to creation, and then they are, doing the whole thing.
Here's a question for that though. On the art piece, they show Mario, Luigi, Toad, and Toadette. But Toadette wasn't in 3D World. Do you think those are those the only 4 playable characters, or are there going to be more?
I think those will be the only 4 playable characters, which disappoints me, but I think that's also a hint that they're basing it kind of on New Super Mario Bros. U, even because Toadette was in the deluxe version. And that also tells me, one of my predictions is, obviously there will be multiple characters as we've seen, but my prediction is that they're all going to behave the same. For partially that reason, but also I think it just kind of makes sense for Mario Maker, where if you had characters with different abilities, that could introduce problems with your level design. So I think it makes sense to keep them consistent, especially in a multiplayer setting where you'd want them to all have basically the same abilities anyway. While I would love for them to have their own diverse like abilities, I don't think they will. I think they will all play the same.
I can see that, but what if there were a toggle of some kind? Like, what if you could make a level and say this level is for Luigi using your Super Mario Bros. 2 physics, and just have Luigi's physics on the entire time? Or there's a toggle which has parity, or something like that. Just some like more options to go with them.
That'd be amazing. That sounds a little bit more cumbersome than I'd think, because then you'd have different, you'd have the same character functioning in different ways depending on which type of level you're playing in. I don't see Nintendo doing that, even if they kind of did it in New Super Mario Bros. U plus Luigi U, where Luigi did behave differently between styles. But I feel like it's just kind of overly complicated here. I have a feeling they're all going to be behave the same, but I hope I'm wrong, because I would love for them to be different.
Simplicity does seem to be the name of the game, so that seems a little bit more complex.
Mario Maker 2 is the name of the game, Derek? Super Mario Maker 2?
Since when?
But on the topic of playable characters, though, we've only really seen them in the 3D world style, and there are only renders there. We haven't seen them in gameplay. And I guess this means we're going to see them in not only Super Mario Bros., but also Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario World, and of course U as well. So it's going to kind of be cool to see, Luigi and Toad in Mario World and Mario 3 playable.
That's a great point. That will be really fun to see. Toadette especially, who hasn't, as far as I know, ever had like a classic sprite of that nature. So that will be really fun to see. Like seeing her little pigtails bobbing around in 16-bit or whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential there with the multiple characters and what they can do with them, or how they might treat the multiplayer. Like, I think that's going to be the big thing to get people invested in it, especially if you could do that stuff online.
Well, there's also the fact, too, with the with getting back to Toadette specifically, in one of the recent pieces of art, we saw her carrying what looked to be Toadette blocks. They're pink blocks, they have Toadette's face on them, and which likely means they're probably going to factor into the game in some way. And John and I had speculated maybe, hoped, I think perhaps, that maybe it ties into the multiplayer mode in some way. Or rather, specifically tied to that character, where maybe only that character can break the block, or maybe that's how you switch to that character. But one idea we had would be is if it was a callback to You versus Boo in Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, on the Game Boy Color, which would be amazing if you had like these race-style stages where you could hit that block, or maybe that block can only be broken by a certain character, and that could like kind of prevent one character from proceeding. But you'd have to work together, I guess, to continue through the level, for instance. So, but the on-off blocks could be a direct callback to You versus Boo, which would be amazing.
I think Derek had quite a big prediction there for a moment. He said playing online. Do you think there'll be co-op online? Or that sounds very un-Nintendo to me.
It's a little bit too ambitious, but it'd be cool. But yeah, it's not going to happen.
I don't see it. Well, it's hard to say, because now we do have co-op via the NES Online app, where you can play Mario Bros. 3 online, and that actually works better than I'd expect. But the problem with Mario Online is kind of like Smash Brothers. It has to have a really good connection. Because it has to know exactly what the players are. It can't fudge it like it can in Mario Kart and keep the race going, even if it's not getting constant data from everyone. So I don't think they would do it in this case. But hey, if they pull it off, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, like Little Big Planet, when you play online with co-op buddies together, it can be fun. But if someone has a bad connection, it just brings the entire thing down. So yeah, it's definitely a maybe, probably not kind of situation.
New Super Mario Bros. U playing multiplayer for me is a very hit or miss experience. Sometimes it's really fun, like when you just lean into the chaos of it all. Other times it's frustrating. And I feel like if you're playing online without people in the same room, that could be really frustrating. With you just running into each other constantly. Yeah. Unless it's competitive. Then if there is a competitive angle to this, then I can see that actually being fun. If it's a co-op focused experience, I feel like you have to be in the same room for that to have, in the same room with people you actually, really enjoy being in the same room with, for that to be really enjoyable.
Yeah, for that very reason, I'm kind of iffy on the whole co-op implementation completely, to be honest, because some levels, like the vast majority of Mario Maker levels, are out there to screw with you. And to have other people banging into you while you're doing that, I just can't see that working all too well.
So that's why I am hoping, like, if there is only a single co-op element, like whether it's a stage builder or playing through these stages together, I hope it's in the stage builder, or I hope rather there's a mode based around like a multiplayer mode. Kind of like, as we've said before, is it Ultimate Chicken Horse, I think? Where you take turns building this crazy level, you keep adding to it as you go through, and the goal is to play through it in chunks, and you try to get to the end. And it gets progressively more difficult and insane. It's just really fun. I would love to see Nintendo's take on that. Where you're like kind of working together to screw each other over at the same time as you're building a level cooperatively and competitively.
I don't know if they'll go that mode, but it would be really cool to see them take that idea. For the most part, honestly, I'm expecting The original Mario Maker with more stuff.
I guess it's to the extent of what that stuff is. Because I guess at the moment the biggest stuff is the 3D World style. And to be fair, that's huge, because 3D World has never been a 2D game before. This is pretty much a new style of 2D Mario they're throwing in here. And if you remember back to the 3DS game, they had a whole bunch of these Nintendo-developed levels, which means, and I guess this is kind of prediction, that we're going to get a whole batch of Nintendo-created levels for Mario Maker 2 made in this 3D World style. So basically, in this making game, we're getting another 2D Mario campaign.
Actually, I will one up that prediction, John. I think we're going to get a proper campaign. Like, they've kind of been moving in that direction. The original Mario Maker had, a pseudo-campaign with, Nintendo-made levels. They built upon that in Super Mario Maker for 3DS, even though the rest of the game kind of sucked. They had a better campaign, a more complete campaign with more levels. And I think they'll go all in on it this time, where you'll have, a full adventure, maybe with a world map, in which you play through all these custom Nintendo levels, hopefully with a big emphasis on the 3D World style, and especially the new elements. And I almost wonder, too, if this might be the new way of, unlocking parts, perhaps, where you unlock parts for playing through this campaign. Maybe there'll be multiple ways of unlocking parts, but when you encounter a new level with new elements, after you beat it, that's when you get access to them, for instance. But I don't think that'd be the only way, because that, not everyone's going to want to play through the campaign.
What do you guys think is the possibility of one more Mario Maker theme, or Mario theme? Like, one more Mario game represented in here, style.
I've been thinking about this. I think it's probably 0, but let's get a bit more exciting though. So I've been thinking about this. There's two ones that are jumping into my mind at the moment. The easy one, I think, is Mario Land 2, because it's another 2D platforming style that's already out there. And I don't think Mario Land 1 holds up all that well, so 2 is my go-to answer. But to get a bit more ambitious, going around the 3D world kind of route, what if they took Mario 64 and put it into a 2D perspective?
Oh man, I would love that. That'd be really fun. And they've, Mario Odyssey kind of played to a similar idea on a much smaller level with the classic Mario suit and the castle area, or the castle courtyard, or whatever it was, the garden area. So that'd be amazing. I don't see it though, because 64 fundamentally plays quite a bit different from the 2D games, whereas 3D World was basically as close to 2D as you can get in a 3D environment, containing the same power-up system even. So I don't see it. I think if they do anything, if there was another style, it would be one of the 2 games, either Super Mario Bros. 2, or even more likely, as you said, Super Mario Land 2. I think it'd be fun though to bring in one of the 2s, because this is Super Mario Maker 2, and it'd be especially cool if the Mario Land 2 style had 2 different versions, had the black and white style, and also a colorized version, which would be a lot of fun, I think.
That would be a lot of fun, and the way they have the powers built around it, everybody has their own unique power-up for each style. The bunny ears is a perfect replacement for that style.
That's true. I guess the only limitation of Mario Land 2 is it didn't have that many assets. There were very few levels with Goombas and Koopas in that game. There were lots of ants, there were lots of undead Goombas, but there weren't actually that many just standard Goombas and Koopas, which I guess wouldn't lend it all that well to the rest of the template.
That ant is a perfect replacement for the Ant Trooper in 3D World, so just saying.
I suppose it is, yeah.
Get rid of the Goombas, put in the JSONs.
I mean, you kind of bring up a good point, though, John. It's most of its level styles are completely different from the others. Because they're based around world themes. Like you're in a house for one of them, or you're in a giant pumpkin for the other. Like you have the horror zone. But it'd be really fun. I think some of them could work. Like the horror zone would be the new ghost house. The cave style could be like when you're inside the whale, for instance. There's basically a grassland theme already in the game, so I think they could make it work for most of these.
Did you guys see like some sort of theme where they looked like they were swimming, even though there was no water? Like, didn't we sort of get the idea that it was like in space, which is from Mario Land 2?
Yeah, you're totally right. This is in the new Super Mario Bros. U style, where basically there is a freeze frame where Mario is in his swimming pose, even though there's no water, and right below him I believe there's lava, which is even stranger. I've seen someone point out that it could be him doing his triple jump, but the animation is so close to a swimming pose that it's just so weird, and it looks like it could be flying through space, seeming as it is in the space theme. So if that is right, and that comes from Mario Land 2, then I guess that's quite good evidence that Mario Land 2 could be in this game.
That would be so amazing. That'd be such a cool idea. Because I actually went frame by frame through the triple jump in Super Mario Maker to see if any of the poses Mario had matches up with that, and it doesn't. unless they've changed it in how it works in Super Mario Maker 2. With that said, I don't know if it's evident, or I don't know if I believe that it's evident, that it's going to be a space theme, but I'm not ruling it out either. But yeah, it is odd that pose he has there, as far as I can tell, doesn't match up with his triple jump from Super Mario Maker, so it does hint at something changing, and it'd be really fun if it is a space style, because that would be so different to work with. And also, I forgive you just mentioned it, John, but the 2 times we've seen it, we haven't seen any gravity, as far as we can tell, fully in effect, because he's flying in the clown car in one of them, and the other, he's it's a screenshot, so obviously it's harder to tell, but it looks like he's floating, as you said, so yeah, very interesting.
Oh man, imagine if Tatanga comes back.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that'd be so great. I want more bosses. I want more boss-like characters, because before we only had Bowser and Bowser Jr., and now we have Boom Boom as well. It'd be so fun if they brought back one of those classic enemies we haven't seen in forever. Obviously, I want Wart, but you know what? I can work with Tatanga, so...
Oh man, Wario as a boss, that'd be something.
Oh god, that'd be really fun, yeah.
I guess we're probably going to get the Koopalings as well. That's a safe bet.
You think so? You think that's a safe bet? I don't know if that's a safe.
I think so.
I don't think so.
I don't know. I mean, we've got Boom Boom in there. I think it's just kind of the next step, and they're in everything nowadays.
We did to shake it 7 times to get through the whole roster, like if you want to.
I think so. I think that's how they'll do it. Yeah.
I guess we do the quick access menu now.
I mean, it makes sense. Just shake Bowser Jr. Yeah.
So something we saw quite recently was the Sky theme. I think this is in their Instagram trailer, and they just kind of threw it in there. And we've seen quite a few new themes over the course of these Mario Maker 2 trailers, and I think there's probably more to see, because we haven't got a tropical theme either, if I'm not mistaken. That's quite a long-running Mario theme, so I've got to imagine that's going to be in there too. So it feels like they're covering all their bases at the moment. So we've got the sky theme, we've got desert, we've got water, we've got all these different themes. What else could be in there?
Tropical would be a good one. Also mountains, because those were also in Mario World, Super Mario Bros. U, and perhaps others as well. So I think that'd be a good one as well. I think you're right. I think we will see more themes here.
Again, if we get Land 2, I'd love that the Halloween theme showed up, but that's a bit more ambitious, because it's not readily built into the other styles. But I don't know about other themes, because I'm trying to think about what else they would do. Because the original Super Mario Brothers is always that one sticking point about, oh boy, we have so many assets to create.
You know what I do like is the fact that now that we can seemingly mix and match the liquid in the level with other styles, you can kind of make new styles based on that. Like now we can create, presumably, underwater ghost houses, almost like a ghost ship. Which has existed in other Mario games, but we haven't been able to make a Mario Maker. But now we should be able to with the variable water level and just using the Ghost House theme.
One limitation I had with the underwater levels is, first, underwater levels can get a bit dull after a while, but another thing is the music. So I'd love some kind of feature that allows us to just go over the huge soundtrack of Mario games and select our own track for these levels.
Yes, that'd be great. Got a little bit repetitive in the original game. Even though there was a fair amount of music overall, given how many themes and style combinations there were, and there's even more now, I would still love if you can choose the music based on which theme you're in. I agree, that'd be great. Kind of like Smash Brothers, I suppose, how they have multiple stages, tons of songs you can choose from for each stage now. We haven't touched on vertical levels yet. My prediction, that's finally gonna be confirmed. They've been kind of hinting at it, they've been teasing the idea. No actual proof yet, 100% proof. I think we're going to get here, though. I think we're going to see that you can just basically turn a horizontal level 90 degrees upward, make it a vertical level instead, and that's going to make me really happy. My prediction is I'm going to be really happy. Here's what I hope, that you can mix and match these as well, because you can have at least one sub-area, which, by the way, I hope there's more now, but I hope that you can have a horizontal plane as well as a vertical plane within the same level.
The amiibo costumes from the original Mario Maker, I'm pretty certain they're going to reappear in this one, but do you think they'll only appear in the Super Mario Bros. Style? Or do you reckon they'll expand them a bit more to appear maybe in the Mario 3 style, or in all of them?
That's a hard one. I have a feeling they'll probably just keep them to the Mario Maker style. The original Mario Brothers style, I should say. They'll probably just keep it to that, because that is what helped give the original Mario style just a little bit more uniqueness, since it doesn't have a lot of the other abilities of the other styles. But along that same vein, do you think we'll see tall Mario show up in the other styles?
I mean, I hope so. My thing is, Mario 3 is obviously still an 8-bit game, so I don't really see why the amiibo costumes couldn't be in that style, but I do hope that tall Mario gets into all of them.
Yeah, I don't think they'll make new assets for all 4 themes. If the amiibo costumes are back, which I hope they are, because they were essential to some of my levels making sense, so I'd be very disappointed they don't return. I think that they would, at the very least, still only be in the 8-bit style. I'd be totally fine, though, if you could use that style in the other, or that visual style in the other styles as well, and the other, depending, I hope it works in all the game styles. Because while I loved using them, they didn't always work perfectly, or like I wanted some of the mechanics from the other game styles when I wanted you to play as like Link or Samus or whatever character that I scanned in. So yeah, I hope they expand it, but I don't think they'll give each one a new sprite, especially for 3D World. They're not going to make a 3D model for all those characters, so...
That's true. It's just the thing is, when you're trying to make a level that's themed after a certain game, you're basically stuck in the Mario 1 style, because if I want to make like an Animal Crossing theme level, I want to use Isabelle's sprites, but I can't like bring that into other styles. I'm just stuck with these Mario 1 physics, which is fine, but... I want to get a bit more ambitious with these,
Well, speaking of different characters, something that was recently confirmed is Cat Bowser. So we know that's coming. He'll probably be, he'll definitely be showcased in this direct as well. But I wonder if it'll be part, or my prediction is it'll be part of a larger segment showing even more interaction between power-ups and enemies. Specifically, I think we might be able to drag a Cat Bell onto different characters and turn them into cat versions. We've already seen a cat bullet bill. We already know that there were Cat Goombas in 3D World, and I think those will likely be back here as well, even if I don't know if they'll play any differently, but I think...
I think Cat Boom Boom as well.
Does this mean Cat Bowser Jr.?
I think it has to. Well, I mean, actually, that's a question, because one thing I theorized about is Bowser Jr. even going to appear in 3D World, or is Boom Boom the replacement for Bowser Jr.?
The scale of those two characters are very different, and I don't know if you can put Boom Boom in a clown car, whereas Bowser Jr. you can. I guess we'll see. I don't know, there's a few too many unknowns about that, I think.
Yeah, the combination possibilities, I think they're going to show off a lot of those. It's like, hey, here's this, and now you can do this with it, and now you can do this with it, and you really just show... like, they want to trigger the imagination of people.
Yeah, Cat Boom Boom riding down on a parachute... with wings
that can throw suns.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be amazing.
Do you think they're going to convert all the Mario Maker 1 levels into Mario Maker 2, or are they just stuck on Wii U?
No, I think they're stuck on Wii U.
I'm kind of okay with that if they are, because I want to see more levels with all these new assets.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to be bogged down by the garbage levels that were made for the original game.
We need new garbage levels.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're gonna have the original creators coming back who are better creators now. They already know the basics of how to make a level. Granted, we're gonna have a whole lot of newbies too, but we don't need the other garbage from the previous game coming back as well, contributing to the overload of not great levels. Granted, there's also great levels from the original game as well, but I think they can start with a clean slate here. I mean, if they do bring them back, I hope that they're siloed in their own like classic level section, where it's kept independent of the new levels, with the new objects. I hope that they add. One prediction is that they'll add like a playlist style setup where you can make your own playlist of levels and share that playlist with others, whether in the game or outside of it, maybe through the Nintendo Switch app, for instance. And what would be especially cool is that this playlist took the form of a world map, as I kind of touched on earlier, where you go from level to level, beating these levels. And the great thing about the playlist is it doesn't have to be just from one creator. It can be whoever you want, like on YouTube. You can make your own playlist with levels from different creators and share that playlist with whoever you want.
It'd be so cool if you could design your own Mario 3 style world map to go along with that.
Yes,
like,
that'd be great.
Even draw it out, like draw out different paths you can take, put like little gates there that you have to break down. That'd be so cool if they could do that.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
I don't think it'll go that far, John, but I do think just to have that little visual touch. I could see Andre's idea of just them being represented by your playlist being represented by those type of maps. That makes sense.
Here's a bold prediction. So, in the time between Mario Maker 1 and Mario Maker 2, Nintendo have discovered a thing called a search bar, and you can use this to type keywords and users and find their levels.
It kind of sucks searching in the original game, especially when you saw a cool level from someone like on a stream, but they didn't show the ID code, so you only had the name. Because for whatever reason, the ID code is hidden by default, I think, for the stages. So if the streamer didn't click it, it wouldn't appear. I don't know why they did that. So I hope that you can just search by the name like you can in Smash Brothers, but that's such a more elegant way of doing it. I hope they keep the ID code too, but that's simpler or that's easier, I think. It's more specific. But yeah, there has to be a search here. Like, if I want to look for Zelda levels, let me just type in Zelda. And as part of that, too, as we also said in our previous discussion, John, I hope you can label, or, I hope you can label your levels or apply tags to them. So if you made a puzzle-focused level, let me tag it as a puzzle level, so it gets filtered by that way for people who want to search for puzzle-based levels.
I'd love that. And you kind of touched on this earlier, but let's consider like if it works with the Nintendo Switch Online app. Super Smash Bros. Integration doesn't allow you to actually search for stuff. You can look at the highlighted page and just find stuff that's featured, but there's no search button. So I hope that if Mario Maker does feature in the online app, I hope that they just do it right, Allow us to have all the features that are actually in the game itself. Just search for anything in there.
Let's see. Here's another prediction. Speaking of kind of like editing things, which I guess would be a segue I could use at any point during this discussion. We kind of touched on this in our previous discussion too, John. I think you may be the one who brought it up, actually. But a music editor. And you were kind of saying you hope there's more music in this game. What if we can make our own music? Kind of like how in the original Mario Maker, they did add a DLC element where you could position objects, I think note blocks in the stage, depending on how high they were, it would the note would change. So maybe they can have a more elaborate version of that, kind of like how Mario Paint had a proper music editor where you can make your own songs this time.
There's lots of levels in the original Mario Maker that had those music blocks, as you said, and they were just dedicated to that. There was nothing more you could do in those levels. You just have to sit by and listen to this music. So if you can combine that creation process and put them in actual levels, that would just be so cool.
I would never touch it, but it'd be cool for those people who do get into that.
Oh yeah, it's not for us. it's for other people.
It's for Peach Toadstool, who made some great things we've used in our own videos for us. So yeah, he did some fantastic Mario Maker music-based levels, and I think he could go nuts with a proper music editor. So that'd be really fun for people who are gifted in that way, unlike us.
Yeah. 15 minutes is going to be... there's going to be a lot of information within this 15 minutes.
The previous video, the first trailer was 90 seconds, and I made an hour and a half video out of it. So if they could cram that much into that short of a trailer, I think we'll get a fair amount of new stuff here. Although I do think, too, the pace is going to be slower here, obviously. Because they're going to break down some of these features. And... some people have already been joking about how long our analysis is going to be based on a 15-minute video. And the thing is, the more Nintendo, the longer these videos are typically, the more they explain them, which means there's actually less for us to do. So I think there'll be a lot of new stuff for us to discuss. I don't know, there'll be a ton in the way of secrets for us to break down. There'll be some stuff, but I don't know. I wouldn't expect a 15-hour video from us, please.
No.
Don't expect that from us.
No, definitely not.
Though I do want to know why that Koopa is driving a car.
Oh yeah,
Yes!
the car.
Bothering me since its debut.
That is the thing I'm actually most curious about, is to what extent does that work? I talked a lot about in the analysis, but I'm excited for it. And as we kind of said in the previous discussion too, John, I really hope this means that they bring in the style, or some elements at least, of the 3D world Mario Kart stages they had in that game, where you weren't driving a car, but it had the music, it had the blocks from the stage, and the car seems like a perfect fit for that kind of idea. And I do think, though, I don't think the car is going to be a universal element. I think I speculated in the analysis it could be the replacement for the Koopa Clown car. I think I might throw out the idea of it being a Yoshi replacement too, like how the Goomba Shoe replaced Yoshi in the Super Mario Brothers style. So I don't think we'll see the car in every style, but I do think we'll. I mean, I think it will be exclusive to the 3D world, but I think it'll be a lot of fun to use.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you could make any type of Mario Kart inspired level with that'd be amazing. Especially now that you have slopes, you can just slide down and do whatever you have. That's the fun thing about tomorrow's Direct, is that there's so much potential for what they could show. The thing is, anything they show is going to be exciting because of what you could do with it.
And yeah, that's a good point there, Derek, because we're speculating on things that we know about from past Mario games. For me, some Mario Maker's best stuff was original stuff that wasn't in other Mario games. The weird stuff, like the giant Mario, the skinny Mario. It's that kind of stuff that I want to see. The stuff that we can't predict.
The sound effects,
right?
The weird sound, the weird things that would happen when you fell down pits sometimes.
Yeah, Mario Maker was weird. I loved how bizarre and off kilter it was, and I hope they retain that and build upon it. I want to see more weird crap in here. Even though it's called Mario Maker, my favorite stages are the ones that are the least Mario-like. I kind of hope they lean into that, and let's just go completely nuts with some of these ideas and introduce new ones. I mean, the car is kind of already hinting toward that. You couldn't drive a car at any point in any of these games beyond the car amiibo they had, or the car amiibo style costume they had in the original Mario Maker. I hope they'll lean into that, and let's just go crazy with these ideas.
will Bowser's ride be in it? Will you be able to put Bowser in his car from 3D World?
Absolutely. I mean, he could in 3D World, so of course that's going to be a thing. I think that's why I speculated too. It might be the clown car replacement because the clown car didn't appear in 3D World, but Bowser did ride around in a car, and the car itself is very visually similar to the car that Bowser himself used, which is where it comes from. So yeah, I'd be shocked if you can't have Bowser ride around in this thing.
Race with Bowser. That'd be amazing.
Yes.
This should be a good one. This should be a really good one.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know anything about how the online works. It could just be like the original game. Hopefully they build upon that more beyond just the search filters we've mentioned. We kind of touched on the online element, perhaps, of it. I don't think they'll have online multiplayer, but you never know. So, any other ideas, guys? Any final ideas you want to throw out there?
The only other thing would be that I know a lot of creators would enjoy, and I know you would love this, Andre. The ability to edit. Like, you get your feedback, you edit your thing, and you don't have to re-upload it.
Oh, yes. I'm glad you mentioned this. I want the ability to basically post unlisted levels. Because what's so important is being able to playtest these stages. And in the original Mario Maker, there was no way to do that unless you had friends over or people over at your house to do it in person. Otherwise, you posted it and it was live and there was no way to update it. So hope either A, to give us the ability to update stages where maybe it keeps a history of all the stage revisions and you can play any one of them if you want. Or, as I just said, let's post them unlisted, share that with friends. We can get their feedback and then post the final version live for everyone to play.
I think just the idea of like a better usability, and like I'm sure they've heard plenty of feedback over the years about this stuff. So hopefully they'll implement some of these ideas.
Well, I think we're pretty much tapped, and we could probably go on forever with like specific elements they could bring in here. But I'm just excited. I am stoked to see what all they're going to announce here. As we kind of touched on at the end, I'm most excited to see what we haven't thought about, or we haven't speculated about, or what we haven't seen any hints of. What else could there be here? And I do think there will be at least one big thing that we haven't thought of that they're going to showcase in this direct. So I can't wait. It's only about a day away or so, and I'm stoked. Real quick, do you think there's any chance that there'll be a demo of this game, like one of their play tests or whatever they've been calling them?
I think there's a pretty high chance there could be, because I guess on the day that it releases, there needs to be some levels playable. And what better chance to have a bunch of levels playable than to give people a chance to make them before launch?
Yeah, it's tough. I don't think they will, but if they did, I could see them totally doing it with a small amount of objects available. Give us maybe only the 3D World style and a row or two of objects to play with. As if maybe the starting roster of objects that you have to unlock them again. That could be a really great way of just building up hype and excitement. But I don't know quite when they would slot it in, with E3 coming up soon and Mario Maker coming out shortly thereafter. So
right, and I guess the purpose of the previous demos weren't just to be demos. They were server stress tests. And when you're not playing with someone network to network, it's not as crucial. So probably not as likely.
Alright, well, I think we're finally about done here. So, thank you for watching. Of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for tons more on the Super Mario Maker 2 Direct tomorrow. We'll have our impressions, we'll have secret videos, we'll have our analysis, I'm sure. We're going to have a ton of stuff, so it should be a lot of fun. And with that, thanks for watching, and of course, stay tuned for tons more on all that and everything else Nintendo Switch. We'll catch you later. Bye.